Okay, we have seen what is a functional interface. A functional interface will have exactly one abstract method. Will have exactly one abstract method. So we have predefined functional interfaces. We say function, predicate, consumer, target, supplier, by function, by predicate. Or in other words, what we can say is any functional interface, if you take, it will be of type either of these things. Any user defined functional interface, if you create any user defined functional interface, it will fall into either of these categories. Either it will be of type function or a predicate or a consumer, target, supplier, by function, by predicate. All right. So if you see, a predicate functional interface will return only Boolean values. If a functional interface method returns Boolean values, we call it as a predicate. It is called as a function if it return type is anything. If it return type is anything, or it may not return a value. Okay. So in this way we have seen, and we have seen consumer also. So when do we use consumer? If at all we want to consume any value, if at all we want to consume any value, we use a functional interface of type consumer. Example we have seen list. If you take a list, from the list, what we want to do, we want to take the values. So we require a functional interface of type consumer. So we use list dot for each of lambda expression. Either print the values or modify the values, whatever it is. So these are the major examples that we have seen. And let's continue. Okay, we have seen this consumer part. This example we have seen, right? User defined classes we are passing. User defined objects we are passing to the consumer.accept method. To the consumer.accept method. So in a functional interface consumer, what is the default method? That is abstract method. Accept is a default method. That is abstract method, not default, I'm sorry, abstract method. Default means again name change. I mean, it's context changes. From Java 8 onwards, we have a separate methods called default methods. Okay, so we should not say abstract methods or default methods. Both are different in fact. Okay, so this is the abstract method. So here we are using two classes, person and message. And these two objects we are passing to the consumer. These two objects we are passing to the consumer. Passing means what? Abstract method of the interface. What is the abstract method? Accept is a abstract method. Now to this we are passing the message object. We are passing message object. Okay. So this is an example of consumer. Okay, so this is the output. Now let us see Java GUI. In Java, you have GUI that we use it using Java Swings or AWT. Swing applications or AWT applications. We have to take up this also. Okay. So in Java, we create GUI applications using Swing components. GUI applications we create using Swing components. Let's say you create a login form. Username, let's say password. This is a standalone application. Using Java, you can create standalone applications, not web applications, standalone applications. Login and reset or submit and reset. Okay. So in this way, you can create a GUI application, GUI application using java.swing package. Java x dot swing package. Swing dot asterisk means javax dot swing package has so many components like buttons, text field, menu, menu bar, checkbox, checkbox group, etc. Okay, like this you have so many components. These are called swing components. Okay, so for example, if you click on the button, what it should happen? It will generate, it should be informed. To what it has to inform, like let's say, if I click on the submit button, it has to inform to someone, that is JVM. Okay, so that is nothing but listeners, event listeners, event and event listeners. If you have a component, every component generates an event. Now that event should be listened by the or addressed by the listeners. Now all these components generate events. All these components generate events. All these components generates events. That is the first thing. And these events should be handled properly. Events must be registered with the listener, event listeners. Events must be registered with the event listeners. Events must be registered with the event listeners. Okay. So let me say this is swing. All right. So as a sample, let me show you the applications. Okay. So this is one simple application, swing application. Public class border layout example. So the most important packages in GUI is java.awt, that is abstract window toolkit. Abstract window toolkit. Abstract window toolkit. An advanced version of AWT or enhanced version of AWT is nothing but swing. Okay, AWT and swing, abstract window toolkit and swing applications. These are available in java.awt and javax.swing. Now, public class border layout is an example. We just want to create a simple form with some buttons. For that, you require a JFrame, Java frame, Java button. You require, you have any doubts, Inian?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. So here in Java Swing, in core Java, we use swing components in order to develop graphical user interface applications. Okay. So in order to discuss this, our main point here is we want to discuss about how event handling is enhanced using Java 8. Okay. So in order to show that, I have to tell you first this GUI components. Okay. So that's why I'll take one or two examples and then I'll explain it. Just go through this example. What, observe this. So all these are classes. JFrame, JButton. Okay, these are classes. To the frame, we are adding some buttons. All are predefined classes. So we have to instantiate them and use it. We have to instantiate them and use it. See, this is a border layout example. We are creating a frame, a top level window. A frame is a top level window. On this frame, we are placing buttons. Button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4, button 5. Now, where are we placing to the? We have to specify the layout. That is directions. Top, bottom, left, right. That we call it as east, west, north, south. Is this point clear? We create components. We create a frame, a top level container. Frame is a top level container. And on that container, we place our components like buttons, images, text fields, checkboxes, radio buttons, text areas, etc. Menus. So container is, or a frame is a holder, a top level window,
Okay.
a top level window. And
Okay. Within launch. Okay. Then you are adding it. When you are defining, then you are adding it in launch.
right,
Okay.
right. We have to first define, because we know how to define. Since it's a class, we have to instantiate them. And we have to
Okay.
pass a name to it. Parameterized constructor. So new J button, button 1, button 2, but any names you can give. Okay, in a string you can give any.
Okay.
And then we have to add them. So here what we are calling, I'm using a user defined method, a launch frame. You need not even call this method. It is not compulsory that you have to write in a method. Outside method also you can write. But I have just to, for better modularity, I have created a method and inside the method I am adding. Now how do I call that method? From the main method.
Okay. Got it.
From the main method I am calling.
Okay.
Okay, so the border layout example, GUI window is my object name, and using the object name, I'm calling this method. So inside the method, what we are doing, we are
Okay.
adding all the buttons in respective locations. And we are making frame to size, and by default frame is invisible. By default frames
Okay.
are invisible. So we should make it visible. We should make it visible. Okay, by default they are invisible, so we must make it visible. Okay, so this is about GUI part. Now in this, in order to handle the event, let's say when I click on this button, nothing is happening, isn't it? When I click on this button, let's say if I click on this button,
Yes.
something should happen. If I click on this component, something should happen.
Yeah.
Means for that, we have to write listeners. Means we have to register the components with the listeners.
Okay.
Events must be registered with the event listeners. Means components has to register or inform the listeners that I will generate the events. Okay, so components has to be registered with the event listeners. Components
Okay.
must be registered with the event listeners. Components must be registered with the event listeners. Okay, to handle events.
Okay.
Let me see this. Okay, so here, now how to handle the events. Here we did not handle any event. Now how to handle the event. Let me show you that example. Okay, see here, frame, new frame equal to action listener. So this is AWT. I'm not using Swing. I'm using AWT package to create a Java application, GUI application. Okay, so AWT are heavyweight. AWT stands for Abstract Window Toolkit. AWT stands for Abstract Window Toolkit. Okay, so here,
Okay.
without using swings, initially when Java was written, AWT was a package to generate or create all Java GUI. But these AWT components heavily depend on operating system. AWT depends on underlying operating system. So we have to create one more package called Swing package. So it is advanced version of AWT. Okay, so here I'm using an AWT
Okay.
to create a simple GUI. So here the major difference is J will not be there. Component name same,
Okay.
frame, button, menu, etc. But J is not available here. Java is not available. Okay. Frame frame equal to new frame, name of the frame, button, boundaries we are setting. Now if you see event handling, this is event handling. I am registering button by saying add action listener. So we are registering the button
Okay.
with the action listener. Why we are registering with the action listener? So that it will receive action events. It will listen to events from this button. Button will
Okay.
listen, but when button generates an event, the action listener will listen for the events from the button. Or whenever button generates any events, the action listener has to handle provided if a button registers with the listener. Okay, so this part is nothing but registering the buttons. B dot add action listener. Okay, we are saying please handle events. Button will go to action listener interface and it will say please handle my events. Now what events? Action events. What type of events? Action events. Okay, it will handle or it will listen for action events. Is this point clear?
Okay, yeah, I'm clear. Yeah.
Action listener will listen for action events. What is action listener? See, the listener interface for receiving action events. The class that is interested in processing action event implements this interface, and the object created with the class is registered with the component using the components add action listener. Okay, so if any class interested in generating events, action events, so it has to register with the action listener interface. Okay, so that is why b dot add action listener, new action listener, b dot add action listener, new action listener. Now this is called as anonymous functions. This is nothing but creating anonymous objects, creating anonymous objects. Okay, so new action listener, in this interface, whenever you are using any interface, you have to implement its method. Now it has only one method, action performed, which takes action event, which takes action event as a parameter. Action performed and action event
Okay.
as a parameter. Okay, so here e dot get class. Simply we are registering button with the action listener. Now what action listener will do? It has to address the events. Now how it will, what is a Java way to address something? By means of methods. So what method action listener has? Action performed. Now how to use this method? Now I cannot say, I cannot redefine action performed. I have to use whatever is there. So in order to use this, first of all, I should create an object of this class, right? So that is why inside this method, I have to create this class. This is called anonymous way of handling objects, anonymous classes. Okay, anonymous classes. This is the way we used to handle events before Java 8. Before Java 8, we used to use anonymous classes. Now this is a major change in Java 8. This is a major change in Java 8. See, when I clicked on this, it says hello world AWT event action event. It is given action event. So when I click on the button, it is generating java.awt.event.action event.
Okay.
Why it is printing that? Because I am saying e.get class.
Okay.
Okay, so it is java.awt.event.action event. Button is generating action event. So that is the reason why I have to address this. Why it generates action event? Because it is registered with action listener. Now action listener will handle all action events. Okay, this is the old style. Now what is the new style of doing this? Just one line. Okay, see b dot, everything is same. Everything is same. Here instead of writing anonymous class, I just used b dot add action listener, that is the event, system dot out dot println, e dot get class. That's it. So how many lines of code we are saving? This many lines of code. And it is very difficult to remember unless and until experience, guys, right? But here it is with simple lambda expressions, you can handle the events. B dot add action listener, we know it generates, it is registering with the listener interface. B dot add action listener. We know that button is registering with the action listener. So here handle that event and print that event. Simple.
Okay.
Let me execute this.